يعني بالخصوص إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
وشكرا كثير لكم والله يبارك فينا الجميع وثبتنا على الإيمان إن شاء الله.
آمين يا رب. جزاكم الله خيرا. وقبل أن نحيل سؤالك إلى ضيفينا الكريمين، معنا الصديق الجميل والدائم للبرنامج الأخ رجب من الغردقة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا دكتور.
أهلا بكم ومرحبا.
جزاك الله خيرا.
وإياك إن شاء الله.
يا دكتور والله أنا ليلة أمس والله جلس معي أخ روسي ودخل الإسلام بسبب نحلة. والله سأل نفسه من أين يأتي العسل. ثم تدرج في القراءة، تدرج في العلم حتى اعتنق الإسلام، وإن شاء الله سوف أهديه إليك.
إن شاء الله على الرحب والسعة.
إن قدر الله اللقاء إن شاء الله سوف أهديه إليك يا دكتور.
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله رب العالمين. وأسلم على أخي الأكبر الدكتور أو الشيخ علي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ثم على ماي بيج براذر إن شاء الله يعني والله أنا I feel that. والله أنا I feel he is my big brother إدريس. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
My big brother أنا I want your CD about your life before and your life now because I have a lot of tourists here in Hurghada. I like see and I like you know what about Islam. So if you can you can send it to me and I will know إن شاء الله from شلن الرحمة إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله تعالى.
جزاك الله خيرا دكتور حسام.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
الله ينفع بك ويرزقك الإخلاص.
آمين يا رب آمين. جزاكم الله خيرا. أخ أحمد from Qatar asked you, how could we attract people to Islam in general?
By living as Muslims. Most people in the West, most people in the world don't go into mosque bookshops. They don't go into Islamic bookshops and take books about Islam off the shelf. They don't do that, most ordinary people. People in New York, their only introduction to Islam is what they see on the TV or Muslims they will meet. So the way we can introduce people to Islam is one, by being real Muslims. Not being what we might call cultural Muslims, carrying lots of baggage that really has nothing to do with Islam, and not being lukewarm Muslims who don't really care about their faith and are giving very bad example by the way they're living their lives, but by being real Muslims. If we were to live as Muslims, how the world would sit up and look at us. You know, I always tell the Muslims in Britain there are 1.5, 2 million Muslims, and there's not many out of 60-odd million people. But I tell the Muslims there, you know, 2 million people, if you put them in a line, that's a lot of people. 2 million is a lot of people. And people in Britain should be able to look at Muslims and say, look, there's a Muslim. Look, there's a Muslim walking down the street. Not because he wears a hat, but because he's a good man, because she's a good woman, because they're honest, because they can be trusted. Look at our beloved Prophet, ﷺ. Even the non-believers gave them his things to look after, because they knew he could be trusted. As Muslims, we should be seen to be the best of people. So that's the first way, as we said to our brother in the city of Suez, by good example. The second way, I would say, if we really take seriously the idea of... Can I give an example from Cairo? The brother in Qatar. I'll give an example from Cairo. In Cairo, there's a street called Sharat al-Athar. And it's a very crowded street, very busy. And at night, it's even more busy. And you walk along the pavement in Dalat Harb at night, and you're crushed and crowded by all the people. And then to make it more crowded, a boy has come, and he's put on the floor a sheet, okay? And on the sheet are socks, okay? And he starts the socks at the white socks, then pale blue, and then until we get to black over here, okay? So the socks are very neatly laid out. And because Cairo's very dusty, he has a duster, and he keeps dusting the socks, okay? So his socks look good. And then to attract the attention of the people, he cries out, "Occasion," he says, there's a sale on. "Ta'ala ya prince, come, Ta'ala ya captain. Thalatha ba'ashara. And he shows them the socks. Okay?
No.
And if they want the socks, they buy it. And also he dresses nicely. He wears a nice T-shirt. Maybe he might wink at the girls as well, but we're not telling people to wink at the girls. But he does everything he can with a nice voice, ta'ala, occasion, to tell them about his socks. To me, that is what dawah is. Islam is like those socks. We as Muslims, we should lay out our stall very beautifully. What we have to offer should be very clear to the people, and it should look very beautiful. We should speak to them in a nice way, in a clear voice, in a friendly voice, in a humorous voice. We should look good. We shouldn't look scruffy and dirty. I taught in Damascus for the last 2 years at Mahad al-Fath al-Islami. And I used to tell my students, they were studying Islamic studies, and I said, any of you comes to my class with dirty shoes, I will send you away. Because we were talking about calling people to Islam. And I said to the students, you can't call people to Islam with dirty shoes. You have to be very smart and very polite. And I said to the students as well, the one who doesn't smile, I will fail you. Because you can't talk about Islam unless you smile. No. Because Islam is beautiful. In Egypt, we say Islam is asal. Asal, it's like honey. It's very, very sweet. This is Islam. This is, brother, this is what we should do.
رائع رائع. طبعا كما رأيتم كان الأخ أحمد من قطر يطرح سؤالا كيف ندعو الآخرين إلى الإسلام، فما زال الأخ إدريس توفيق مصرا على هذه النقطة بسلوكنا وأخلاقنا وحسن تعاملنا مع الآخرين، وهو يؤكد على فكرة الأمانة. هو يقول مثلا أن عدد المسلمين في بريطانيا، وهي البلد التي عاش فيها والقطر الذي عاش في رحابه، عدد المسلمين ليس كبيرا، لكن بمقدورهم، بخلقهم، بوقفتهم صفا واحدا أن يستقطبوا ويجتذبوا الآخرين إلى الإسلام بحسن أخلاقهم وضربهم القدوة والأسوة والمثل. ينبغي أن نكون أمثلة حية في الأمانة، وهو يركز على فكرة الأمانة، ويستدعي مسألة أنه كان في وسط القاهرة مزدحم، ورأى شابا أو غلاما صغيرا يبيع بضاعته، كان يبيع بعض الجوارب، ويحاول أن يستقطب الناس إلى بضاعته بأن يحسن تنظيفها، بأن يتحدث عنها حديثا ودودا لطيفا. هو يقول ينبغي على الدعاة أن يحسنوا ترويج بضاعتهم بهذه الطريقة التي تروق للرأي العام، الطريقة التي تنفذ في القلوب. ينبغي أن نقابل الناس بابتسام. وهو يقول عندما كان في دمشق يقوم بإلقاء بعض المحاضرات، كان يصر أن تكون ملابس طلابه نظيفة، أن تكون أحذية طلابه نظيفة، أن يقابل الناس بثغور باسمة، بوجوه باسمة لا تجهم فيها ولا عبوس. وهو هنا يمتاح فعلا من معدن السنة النبوية. وكما قال عبد الله ابن الحارث: ما رأيت أحدا أكثر تبسما من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I want to ask you one more question. We have 4 minutes. What's your impression when you are listening to Quran recited by others? And in your opinion, how could Quran help you or help us seeking the right path?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just the pattern, the sound of Quran touches our hearts. I began to learn Quran by listening to Quran on a cassette, listening. I didn't understand it, listening. And then with my Quran, it was in Arabic and at the side in English. So I would listen to the tape, sometimes I would put the book aside and just listen to how beautiful it sounded. Not knowing what Allah was saying, but knowing that He was saying He wanted the best for me and for His creation. And then I began to read what He was actually saying. And everything fell into place. It all made sense. Everything that I'd ever done made sense. And all the chaos and the nonsense going on in the world makes sense because of what it says in this book. This book tells people this is how you should live your lives. Not to put a burden on people's shoulders, but as a mercy to them, to take the burden off their shoulders. By listening to the words of Allah Almighty, you know, I get very